Ladies and gentlemen, I am Mr. WCW. Welcome to my channel, the WCW Guy. Alright, today I'm here to review the 1989 WCW Chi-Town Rumble between Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat World Heavyweight Championship. This match is amazing. I mean, the psychology in this match, well, back and forth, in your face, action packed. I mean, the match is, you could say, is slow paced. And I think a lot of the younger wrestling fans in this generation probably wouldn't appreciate a wrestling match like this. The thing is that even though the wrestling match is slow, at least the wrestlers are selling their moves properly in the ring. Each move they're doing on each other looks effective, and you're convinced that that each move is affecting their opponents, basically. So, like the chops, when Ric Flair or Ricky Steamboat are chopping each other, they're falling down and they're getting back up. They're getting the sleeper holds. Roll over pins. They keep counting. They keep trying to counter each other's moves. Ric Flair is trying to outsmart Ricky Steamboat. He's trying to outsmart the referee. He's trying to cheat. He's being the dirtiest player in the game. And it's like you're convinced that these guys are actually trying to compete against each other. Like, if the match wasn't predetermined on who wins, it's like you don't really think about the fact that it's predetermined that someone's going to win in this match. Because, you're so into the match, like, it's like they're just trying to compete, and you gotta see the audience. The audience are so into this match. I mean, nowadays, so into this match. Every chop, every suplex, every time, either with Steamboat or Flair come off the top rope, or they'll counter each other's moves. My reaction was like, oh. It's just stuff like that would really get me so into the match and make me feel so entertained. And these guys really know what they're doing. They really know how to tell a story. When you watch WWE or TNA nowadays, it seems like the crowd is just so bored. They just sit there and watch half the time, and it's like, look at the crowd in the cheap seats. They're just so dead, like, if they don't even want to be there, And, like, if you watch Ricky Steamboat versus Ric Flair, the crowd is so into the match because guys like Flair and Steamboat know their craft. They know where they are in the match, and they know how to keep the fans worked up and, feel like they're on the edge of their seat. And they make it so hard to predict on who's going to win the match, because the match could win any way. It was pretty much a double-sided match, just not just a one-sided match. Nobody was getting squashed in this match. It's like guys like Steamboat and Flair are so smart in-ring wise, because it's like these. Imagine if it wasn't predetermined on who wins, and they're trying to use strategies to somehow beat their opponent, whatever they can do to win the match. And it's like at the time, these are two guys in their prime, top of the world, top notch, the best athleticism a wrestler could have, and it's like they're convincing us that, like, even though the wrestling is entertainment and wrestlers are entertainers, they're trying to tell you that they're more than just entertainers. They're athletes, they're competitors. That's what you kind of feel like when you watch a wrestling match like that, Guys like Steamboat, Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Barry Windham, the list goes on. It's guys like these who treat wrestling like a sport, even at the end of the day, it's still predetermined on who wins. You know, they show you that you don't need all this bullshit of, tits and ass, half naked women on the wrestling product to make people watch. You don't need this really cheesy acting and like stupid gimmicks. Um, you know, I mean, there's matches where these guys like Rhodes or Flair, they cut themselves, they bleed. But even if they're not cutting themselves or bleeding or giving each other chair shots, all this kind of stuff, they can still give you a good wrestling match. So into this match. Every chop, every suplex, every time either with Steamboat or Flair come off the top rope or they'll counter each other's moves, my reaction was like, oh, oh. It's just stuff like that would really get me so into the match and make me feel so entertained. And these guys really know what they're doing. They really know how to tell a story. And you had guys like Steamboat, Flair, Dusty Rhodes in the ring. You don't need the 14A product. It doesn't matter if it's PG or not. It's still wrestling. It's good quality wrestling. Wrestling presenting you in a very good way. And a lot of people who shit on WCW because of all the bullshit that went on with the Monday Night Wars and NWO, all this kind of stuff, they're not looking back on the early 90s of WCW and the late 80s of WCW and Jim Crockett Promotions. There's a lot of stuff like this that, WCW was so underestimated, and because of some of the stuff that happened before they went out of business, they're not really getting the credit that they deserve for really, really good matches. Very good matches in the early 90s. Even in the late 90s, they still had a lot of good matches. But guys like Flair, who were much younger, in like 1989, he would really go in the ring, and he was still a great wrestler as he got much older. But like I said, Steamboat and Flair, really good match, really worth watching. I don't know if you can find it on YouTube or on an old VHS tape, an old DVD. WWE is producing a lot of WCW DVDs now, so maybe you could probably find it on Rise and Fall of WCW or somewhere. You could probably find this match on. Is worth watching. You may not appreciate this match because it's slow paced, but each wrestling move in this match, each elbow to the face or a punch or a knee or a chop, it looks effective. Nowadays I find a lot of wrestlers, they don't sell their moves properly and the match doesn't look effective. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, I love watching a wrestling match like, Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles, very fast paced, in your face action, you know. And that's a different psychology going on there. That's a different story going on, which is also good. It's great, but I prefer NWA stuff or early '90s of WCW. The Four Horsemen, all those guys, really good matches. And I mean, if you, even if you don't have even if you're not really a great technical wrestler, because maybe you might have 5 moves, at least you tell a story in their kind of psychology. You should still be able to throw on a good wrestling match. Anyway, guys, I'm the WCW guy. Hope you enjoyed my review, and I will not give you away the results of this wrestling match because I want you guys to watch and enjoy. And sorry about the cat making noise in the background. Peace. Coca-Cola, please don't sue, because I am not that rich, but I like your shirts.